Hello, good evening and welcome to the University of South Wales live student Q&A event. I'm really pleased that you're able to join us this evening. My name is Rebecca Breen and I'm a Student Recruitment Officer here at the University of South Wales. Part of my role is to provide higher education information, advice and guidance to students who are currently studying in Gwent schools and in Coleg Gwent. This is so that they can make informed decisions about what they're going to do career-wise when they leave school or college. This event will last about 30 to 40 minutes, and it is your opportunity to ask our students any questions you have about studying at the University of South Wales. And just remember, no questions are off limits. Please make sure you have the question window open at the top of the screen. And please remember not to share any personal details in the live chat during the event. We're delighted this evening to be joined by two of our current undergraduate students who live and previously studied in local Gwent schools before progressing to USW. I'll hand you over now to them to introduce themselves.
Yeah, hi everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. So a little bit about me then. My name's Hayden Evans and I come from and studied at Caldecott Comprehensive and went to sixth form there as well. And I've always been interested in sport, so that's what led me to study sports journalism at USW, where I'm now in my second year.
Hi, I'm Gabby Wood and I come from the John Frost School. I'm doing initial primary teacher education at USW and I'm in my first year.
Brilliant, thank you for those great introductions both. Okay, so whilst your audience are thinking of questions to put into the chat box, I'll start off with our first question to our students, which is, so what has studying degree at university been like during the pandemic? And if I go to you first, Gabby.
It's obviously been a bit tough because of being online and things like that, but generally I'd say it's been really rewarding. In my course, we were one of the only ones to actually be able to go to placement in our chosen schools. So in terms of that, not much had actually changed. And I think for me, it's been a really eye-opener to how far the uni will actually go to support us.
Brilliant. And you, Hayden?
Yeah, it's been very different to my first year. Of course, in my first year, there's lots of on-campus learning, and then with COVID and stuff, it's been mainly online lectures and online learning. But I'm very lucky to be doing a course which is very media-based, very social media-based, and I think it's actually benefited me a lot. Although it has been different to be learning about these different technologies and stuff, Teams, Zoom and stuff like that. And I think that's going to benefit me going forward.
Brilliant, thank you. They're really good answers. Yeah, so if you'd like to put some questions in the chat box, that'd be really great. Now's your opportunity to ask any questions you have about the University of South Wales. Okay, so next question coming through then is that, have you had any on-campus learning during the pandemic? And Gabby, if we go to you first.
I've had, I think it was 2 or 3 sessions of on-campus teaching. So we were there, we were trying to do sort of every Tuesday sort of thing. But apart from that, not really. But obviously, like I said, we've been in placement as well. So I'm sure if we weren't in placement, we would have had more on campus.
So what kind of lessons did you have then?
We've got, well, it feels like loads of lessons in primary teaching. But on campus, we had things like expressive arts, where we did dance and art and drama and things like that. But then we've also had humanity and all sorts, really.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, and you then, Hayden?
Yeah, so I think we did quite a bit of on-campus learning before Christmas. We haven't been in since Christmas, but we have been doing a lot online. And again, as well, I've had placements to be doing with as well, and that's been really beneficial to me. Although I would prefer to be in uni, the online stuff hasn't been that bad.
Great, lovely to hear that. Okay, so next question coming in then is that we've mentioned about work placement. So one of the questions is that, have you been able to continue with work placement? So if you can just tell me a little bit more about what you've done in work placement wise then, Gabby?
For us, I go to a school in Monmouth, and so I go there every 2 to 3 weeks maybe, and we spend 2 weeks there on placement, and then we have a week to do blended learning. So it's basically you can do whatever you feel you need to improve on. And so I'm actually in my blended week now, and I've spent today in school and I'm going to be in school tomorrow. But then as of Thursday and Friday, I'm actually going to be in uni developing my pedagogical skills.
Brilliant. Okay. And what about you then, Hayden? You mentioned you've been on work placement. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you've been doing?
Yeah, so with my course, sports journalism, there's a requirement of 70 hours work placement in your second year, which does sound a lot, really, but it's not that much, really. I'm in 2 placements. I'm doing one with a company called eCoach. Their general manager, Simon Richards, is a USW graduate, and I got that through the uni. And for them, it's basically all in my own time, which is quite good. And I do some written pieces and stuff for their website with match officials. Spoken to an ex-professional footballer as well. And then I've got another placement which I sourced myself with Ebervale RFC. And again, that's all in my own time, so I can sort of choose the hours that I work. And that's producing social media content and content for their website and YouTube channels.
That's great. So it's really, good to hear that you were still able to continue with your work placements, even though, we're in the pandemic. So that's really great to hear. Okay, next question coming in then. And probably got lots of school and college students listening. So how is university different from school or college then? And that's a question to you first then, Gabby.
I'd say it's different just because there's more, I know it sounds like a cliche, but there is more freedom. And you can also, I found that I'm actually developing a personal relationship with my lecturers as well. In university, I'd be very open with my lecturers, whereas in school I wouldn't necessarily do that. If there's a reason why I'm worried about my assignment, I'm finding it easier to go to my lecturers and say, look, I'm worried about this because, and then they are supporting me, whereas in school I don't think I would have done that.
Brilliant. And then you, Hayden, as well? Yeah,
I think Gabby's bang on there as well. I think there's a bigger emphasis on you and doing stuff outside of lectures and that. You're treated more like an adult, and you do get that personal connection. Well, I know I've got it with my lecturers, and they sort of do become your friends almost, and you're not afraid to ask them this or that.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, next question then is, what facilities are available on campus? And that's from Hector. So for you, Gabby, then if I can start with you, so what facilities for primary teaching are on campus for you that you use?
There's the library, that's quite big, and that's also got access to things like MacBooks and laptops all on the side. And then there's also different things as well, like coffee shops and things like that. Brilliant.
Thanks. And you then, Hayden, as well?
Yeah, so I'm based at the Atrium campus, which is the campus in Cardiff. And yeah, similarly, there's a big library there with the MacBooks, and you've got the private study areas, which are little sort of blocks where you can study privately without being disturbed, which I think is really nice, really helpful. And then obviously I'm doing sports journalism, so there's a state-of-the-art radio studio upstairs as well, which I've been using to make my podcasts, and that's brilliant, really. It's proper industry standard. So yeah, really good facilities there.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, I've got a question then regarding student finance, and I can answer that one. So is student finance based on household income? Part of it is, so your tuition fee that goes straight to the university, that's non-means tested, which means everyone gets the same. However, the maintenance part of the loan, part of that will be means tested. It depends whether you live in England or live in Wales or Scotland or Ireland, depending on how much you'll get. But I would refer to either Student Finance Wales or Student Finance England, and they'd be able to let you know how much you'll be entitled to. So yes, part of it, and hopefully that's answered your question there. Okay, next question then is, so why did you apply to the University of South Wales then, Gabby?
I applied for this one and a few other universities, obviously, as you would, just in case. But this university really stood out for me as well, because in this university for the primary teaching course, they actually do a thing called Apple Teacher, where you can get all of these Apple badges and then you eventually become an Apple teacher. And that wasn't the only thing that enticed me here either. They were also doing different courses that are actually accredited throughout the 3 years. So by the time you finished, yes, you are obviously a qualified teacher. That's another thing I looked for as well. But yes, you are a qualified teacher, but you've also got this whole, it feels like this massive list of things that you can put on your CV as well, which I feel will give me a better opportunity if I'm to stand here and somebody else is to stand there. I've got all of these things that the university have done for me and the university hasn't. And so that's what brought me to USW.
Brilliant, thank you. What about you then, Hayden? Why did you choose to study at USW?
Yeah, so as I mentioned at the start, I've always been interested in sport and I've always wanted to pursue a career in the sports industry, although I didn't know really where I wanted to take that in sixth form. But when I was looking for going to university and what sort of degrees I could do, I came across sports journalism, and it's perfect for me really, because everyone said in school I was a bit of a sports nerd really, always coming out with like facts and stuff. So it's sort of perfect for me. You can just chat about sport. And I looked into it, and at the time, the University of South Wales was one of the only universities around here offering the course. I had an interview as well with Julie Kissick, who's my course leader, and we just spoke about all the opportunities for placements within the industry, all the links that the university's got, and I just thought it was perfect, really. That combined with the fact that it is close as well. I know that's not the main reason for coming here, but I know there's a lot of Gwent students on the Facebook Live, and it is good because I can sort of move between Cardiff and Caldicot quite easily. It's only I think 20-25 minutes on the train, so I am close to home, but I also do get my own space as well, which is nice.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, I'll come back to you now then, Hayden. So I've got a question for you from Estin. Do you think you'll become a full-time journalist because of your course? Yeah,
so I'd like to hope so. I mean, there's a number of sort of avenues you can take with the degree. Of course, sports journalist is the obvious choice, working for a news organisation, but there's also loads of avenues you could go down with the clubs. I hope you won't mind me saying this, Callum Ellis, who's graduated last year. He's gone on to be the media officer at Newport County, and then a few of the other boys as well have gone on to get full-time jobs or take that on to a sports broadcasting masters and stuff. So it opens up lots of opportunities.
Brilliant. Thank you for that question, Estin. I hope that's answered that for you. Okay, the next question coming in then is how many days a week do you have in lectures or seminars? So what's a kind of a normal week like for you? If I can go to you then, Gabby, first.
For me, obviously I've mentioned before I'm in placement, so this course does differ quite a lot. So obviously we've been online, but when we're online we'll typically have, say, 2 lectures a day. It's nothing too heavy. We'll have, say, 2 or 3 lectures a day, 2 hours or an hour each. And yeah, we get study time as well. So there'll always be, say, an hour in between, or, a bit of time so you can just reflect. And then when we're in placement, we're in the whole time, because obviously we are teachers, we are acting as teachers, and that's what we hope to be. So we're in all day in school then.
Brilliant. And what about you then, Hayden? How many days are you in university or studying?
Yeah, so I have 2 lectures, Monday, Tuesday and Thursday, and then my course is a little bit different to a lot of other courses at the university. For those of you that don't know, Wednesday afternoon is reserved for a lot of the university student union sports teams. So a lot of courses won't have lectures then on a Wednesday afternoon. But obviously, because we're the sports journalism degree, there's been no sport up at the sport park this year. But when there was last year, it gave us a chance to sort of follow the teams, write match reports on the game and stuff. And it was like being in a professional environment.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so just coming back to student union and kind of clubs and societies then. So Hayden, so are you a member of any clubs or societies with the Students' Union at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm part of the rugby team at the moment. They didn't have a team in my first year, but they started it up last year, the end of last year, just before COVID hit. I think, first of all, if you haven't seen it, you should check out the facilities up at the USW Sport Park, because they're fantastic facilities. They got an indoor barn, which is 3G. They got the 3G pitches, rugby pitches, hockey pitches, and then they're used by loads of international rugby and football teams when they come and visit as well. I know England trained up there when they came to visit in the Six Nations. I think the Mexico football team were there before the friendly with Wales the other day. And then, yeah, just being part of a sports team's great. Great way to make friends. And then obviously for your physical and mental well-being as well, it's fantastic. So
you'd highly recommend joining clubs and societies at the Students' Union there?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's a big part of my student life.
Brilliant. Okay. What about you then, Gabby? Are you a part of any clubs or societies?
I'm not as sporty as Hayden, as you can probably tell, but I'm actually a course rep for my course, and I'm the SVR for education for this year. I know I'm not doing it next year just because obviously I'm going into my second year, but yeah, I prefer to type and talk rather than run around.
So what kind of things do you have to do with your SVR then? That's a student voice rep, is it?
Yeah. So it's basically, if there's any course rep problems that they feel like they can't solve, they'll bring them to me, and then I'll just direct them in the right avenue so they can find the support that they need.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. The next question then is come from Kelsey. Her question is, and I can answer this one, will there be a chance for an in-person offer holder day and a chance to look at accommodation? Well, we would obviously love to have all of our students and prospective students back on campus. At the moment, it's not safe to do so, but we are going to be, reviewing the situation. As Welsh universities, we do take guidance from the Welsh Government, so we're only allowed, to accept visitors as and when, they say so. But just keep looking back at our university web pages, and as soon as we are able to let people on, perhaps just a few people on, at a time, then we would be, delighted to, to welcome you in person onto campus and have a look at accommodation. There are lots of virtual tours. I know that's not the same as coming onto campus, but things, certainly in Wales are progressing, and we are coming out of lockdown, but slowly but surely. So fingers crossed that before September, we will be able to invite you onto campus for offer holder days and look at the accommodation and all the other facilities that we have. So that would be my answer there. So unfortunately, I can't give you a yes or no answer, but just watch this space. Okay. Okay, the next question is then, so you have to obviously be organised to be an undergraduate student. So how organised are you? First to you then, Gabby. That smile means that perhaps you're not very organised.
Yeah, I will admit I've not been as organised as I should be all of the time, but I'm one for stationery and having all of this lovely stationery, stacking up my post-it notes. I think I've even got zebra post-it notes. Why? But I'd say it has been a bit tricky. But you do need to be organised. But if you're not, it's not the worst thing that can happen, because once you get into the swing of it, it can be done. And I think that's what I've learned, because now I'm sure Linda, the course leader, will tell you, I've sorted out my game. I've got my post-it notes and they're actually being used now. And yeah, so you do need to be organised.
Brilliant. That's lovely to hear. What about you then, Hayden? Are you an organised person, or are you a bit like Gabby? No respect. I'd
like to think I've improved a little bit. Last year I definitely wasn't, and It did get on top of me a little bit, not being organised, but this year I've got my planner, which I definitely recommend having. Got a big whiteboard up as well with all my deadlines and stuff on. I think it really helps just knowing what you've got to do and when. That's probably been one of the biggest things I've worked on this year, is just being organised, and it just gives you, I think it helps your mental health a lot, just knowing what you're doing than just this fuzzy mess around in your head.
Mm-hmm. And I think, all first year students are the same. It's a very different life in university than it is at school or college, so it is that independent learning and independence away from home and things. So yes, but it's great to hear that you have improved on those skills. So well done both. Okay, this is a question for you then, Hayden. You might be best placed to answer this. It's from Isabel. When does sports start? And are there tryouts to sign up for them? And I'm from the United States, so I'm not sure how it works as opposed to in the US. So sports then.
Yeah, so first of all, I go at it from a rugby angle, and obviously we didn't have a rugby team in the first year, and it's been a bit, because there's been no start date for when the rugby is going to resume. It's just been getting all in as one squad and training as a squad. And then I'm sure once we get back into the Bucks seasons, then there'll be sort of places on the line and stuff. But I know a couple of the boys that went to the football, and then they had some trials. I think they had 3 or 4 trials, and you get put into, I think, but that's not. I know that's not put down for the whole of the year.
Mm-hmm. And I know that when students start university in September, there's Freshers Week that goes on where there's lots of partying, and hopefully that'll still happen in September. And you are encouraged then, aren't you, to sign up to these clubs and societies when you start, so I'm sure that you'll be able to do that as soon as you start. Brilliant. Okay, thank you for that answer then, Hayden. I've got a question here from Anila. Do you offer university tests instead of the IELTS? We do that, but I think it's probably best to contact our international department for that, because they'll be able to tell you a little bit more about that. So if you could, drop me a line or get in contact with us via the university website, we'll be able to answer that question for you, if that's okay. Okay, so the next question coming through then is, we're going to talk a little bit about student finance. We've had a little bit, so I guess you've not really been able to spend your loan and grants that you've had. So Gabby, what have you done with your money then since lockdown?
You'd think that we've not been able to spend it, but obviously Amazon and Pretty Little Thing and things like that. So I think I've spent it mainly on clothes, but also relating to uni, I've spent a lot of it on placement things. So I've bought myself a set of Numicon, bought myself the phonics flashcards, things like that. And obviously all of that stuff eventually adds up. But I would say just keep an eye on it and make sure that you are looking at your bank statements, because I know that I wasn't, and before I knew it, it's almost all gone. And most of it was Amazon Prime.
Brilliant. What about you then, Hayden? What have you spent all your money, or are you perhaps saving it? I don't know.
So yeah, the first thing I'd say was last year, I wasn't the best for saving my money, and I was going out to out in Cardiff every Monday and every Wednesday, so I wasn't the best at keeping track of my money. But yeah, this year I managed to save my money a little bit. I've been a little bit more cautious, but I have just blown a lot of money on getting Rugby World Cup tickets, which I probably wouldn't advise people, because it's not great looking in your bank and seeing that you've lost that much money. But yeah, another thing which I would advise as well is I had a job all of last year as well, and I think that just kept me going. And I know we're speaking to students in Gwent. I kept my job here in Caldicot, so I travelled back and I worked on the weekends, and it is good not being so far away that I could keep my job and give me that little bit of extra money.
Brilliant. That's great. Thank you. Okay, so just going to talk a little bit now about any additional help that perhaps you've needed, or perhaps some of your friends have needed. So, at USW we are a very supportive university. So, have you or have any of your friends had to rely on any counselling or any kind of study skills that you're happy to share with us? And if so, was it easy for them to get in contact with our support services department? And that's to you then, Gabby.
I'm in year 1, as I mentioned previously, and I think the jump from sixth form or college going to university for some people is quite hard, not because obviously it's this big massive change, but in terms of the expectation and what your writing is supposed to be, because I think a lot of people actually do panic that what they're writing in, say, sixth form or college isn't good enough for what they're writing in university, and a lot of the time that's not actually the case. But I know a lot of people on my course have used study skills quite a lot for especially our first couple of assignments, but it's really easy to access. You just go on the USW website, go on Blackboard, and it's just right there.
Brilliant. What about you then, Hayden? Have you had to, been able to access that information and that support?
Yeah, so I've not had to access study skills myself, or I say not have to. I haven't. Whether I had to or not is probably, you should ask my lecturers. But I do know people that have used it and they found it really helpful and have said that how easy it is to use. And although I haven't accessed student support, as it were, I think my lecturers are really great for helping us out, whether that be with stuff. I know I can always ask them stuff, and I probably do pester them quite a lot with emails to check that I'm sort of onto the right thing. And they're great for like mental health and stuff like that. Delmy and Julie are always asking if we're all right, especially with the COVID pandemic and that, just checking up on us, which is great.
Brilliant, that's excellent. Okay, got another question then, and I can answer this one because it's about, so it's from Saeed, and is it possible to start face-to-face teaching this September? Okay, so we are at the moment still having blended learning, which means it's partly on campus and it's partly then through Teams, asynchronous and synchronous lectures. A lot of our students, so if they have practical courses and they have been in university and on placement like these two students here, in terms of September 2021, I guess, again, it's very much like, are we allowed to have people onto campus, for open days and look at accommodation? We are still, again, waiting to hear and take guidance from the Welsh Government. So as soon as we know that, then, we will have more face-to-face. And for this summer term now, we have been allowed to have more students back on campus for face-to-face learning. So, although many people really do like online learning, but we hope, fingers crossed, that by September, with the way that things are going now, really in a positive direction, and we can see light at the end of the tunnel, that hopefully by September we will have a lot of more students, back on campus. But again, we're just waiting for announcements to be made by the Welsh Government. And as soon as they are, they'll obviously be, disseminating that through all of our social media networks and, through to our prospective students who've applied to us as well. But that's not just us, that's all universities. So it's not just USW that's in that kind of predicament. But as soon as we can, we will return to face-to-face teaching, because that's, we miss our students, all about the lecturers are saying, we miss, seeing them that often. So, we want to get back to that as quickly, but it needs to be in a safe environment to do so. Okay, so just next question that's coming through then is, what have you enjoyed most about your course so far then? If I come to you then, Gabby.
For me, there's been quite a lot that I've enjoyed, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. But I think actually being on placement, because obviously if you want to be a teacher, it is the children that you want to work with, and they're probably the reason that you want to be a teacher. You want to make a change and things like that. So actually being able to do that has been really beneficial. But I also know USW actually do the way that they do the primary placements done about everyone else, but the way that they do the primary placements is actually different to a lot of other universities. And so usually you'll have like a block of 8 weeks, I think it is, or 6 weeks. But the USW, we actually do it 2 weeks at a time. So we're having that time to reflect on what we've learned, what we've taught, and then we're going through. And it's really nice actually, because it's sort of, as we're learning, we're teaching. And it just makes me feel a lot more confident in the things that I am teaching. And so, yeah, that's really lovely.
Brilliant. So what about you then, Hayden?
I think the thing that I've probably most enjoyed is the networking, and it was something that was drilled into us a lot in our first year by Julian Delmy, that networking's massively important for a journalist. You've got to know people. It is who you know, and it's been great being in contact with some professional journalists and some professional sports players, football players, rugby players, and just getting to know people and talk to people, and that's been great. And I say the professionalism as well with which we're treated. So then once we go out into the industry or on placements or whatever, we don't feel out of place.
Brilliant. That's really great to hear. Thank you for those answers to those questions. So we're coming to the end of this session, but I've just got a couple more questions that I'd like to ask you. So the first one is, and everyone wants to know this, so did you live in halls of residence or did you stay at home? This one to Gabby then, first of all.
I chose to stay home. I live in Newport, and obviously I now go to Newport campus. So for me, especially with COVID, I just thought staying home would be nicer. But for me, I do have 2 dogs, and the one is my baby. She is my baby. I've had since I was 13. And so for me, I don't know if anyone else feels the same, but leaving her would probably break my fragile little heart.
Oh, bless you. What about you then, Hayden? Did you live at home?
No, so I stayed in halls my first year. I'm actually in halls again this year. In the first year, I stayed at Liberty Bridge, which is just across the road from the Atrium campus in Cardiff. And I really enjoyed it because you get put in a flat and you get to know people. The people in my flat were great, to be honest. They loved sort of the same things as me, so that was great. And it's nice sort of having your independence, but then, as I said before, it's only a 20-25 minute train ride back to Caldecott where I live. So it's sort of, I get the best of both worlds really, where I'm away, but I can come back just as easily.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you for that. Okay, so the final question that I'm going to come to, so we'll have to wrap this up then. Have you got any final tips for our students that are listening and have tuned in this evening? So, Gabby, so when you're in year 13 of the John Frost School, so some of these students may well be there, what tips would you give to them now?
It's a tricky one. I'd probably just say be organised from the start, because if you write straight off the bat, you get one of those big planners like I've got. My one's a Disney one, and I've literally just highlighted the whole day of every single assignment that I have, or every single time I start placement. And then that way, as soon as I flip, say from March to April, I know exactly in my mind that I should be preparing for that, and that comes first, sort of thing. So now that's helped me get organised a lot.
Brilliant. And what's your final tip then to our students then, Hayden?
I think my tip would just be to respect yourself a little bit. Obviously, you're good enough to get into uni, so you're good enough to stay there. And I think that's probably something I struggled with at the start. If I didn't understand something, or if I didn't get something, I thought, I was maybe a little bit overwhelmed, and I thought, should I be here? But I guess, yeah, just take a step back and just, you're there to learn at the end of the day. So if you don't get something, you'll learn how to get over stuff.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, both. Okay, so that's all we've got time for this evening. So I hope you found the event useful and that we were able to answer most of your questions for you. And thank you very much for all those questions that we had through. You can find out more about the University of South Wales at our online open days, and we've got one this Saturday, the 24th of April. So if you'd like to join us and find out more about our courses, please head over to our university webpage and book your place to attend the open day. Or alternatively, you can contact inquiries inquiries team through our live chat through our website as well. They'll be able to answer any questions for you. Okay, so just like to finally finish off with thanking you very much for all joining us. A huge thank you to our fabulous students for giving up their time this evening. I know they're really busy, so really grateful for you to do that. I'd also like to thank our technical team who are, in the background, behind the scenes, ensuring that this event runs smoothly. So thank you ever so much for all of you, and we hope to see you at the University of South Wales soon. Okay, take care of yourselves. Thank you. Bye.